على سيدنا رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما ينفعنا يا رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Last week we started speaking about the three foundational principles which the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam focused on when he arrived in Medina Munawwara. And we started with the first two. We spoke some detail about the first two. The first one being the building of the masjid and the importance of the masjid generally in Islam and the role it plays in keeping the Muslim community together and strengthening the community and everything else related to the masjid in general and specifically to Masjid al-Nabawi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The second was the brotherhood, establishing the brotherhood between the Muhajir and the Ansar. The Muhajir being the one that migrated from Makkah and the Ansar, the resident from Medina. And the Prophet ﷺ paired them up, and we said that pairing was even stronger than the blood relationship because some of them had members of their family who were non-Muslim. But so the bond that was established by virtue of Iman was far stronger than even the blood relations, that even allowed them to inherit from one another. Like I said, that rule eventually was cancelled and abrogated, where inheritance was only based on blood and family ties, etc. So those were the first two things that the Prophet ﷺ focused on. The third thing, which we just touched on and we'll probably elaborate on it now, was the writing and the formulating of what we may call in today's terms a constitution of Medina. He laid down the ground rules, the rules by which the residents of Medina, both the Muhajir and the Ansar, how they will conduct their day to day lives in the city of Medina. You need some rules. So he laid down those particular rules which would ensure that they had a good, pleasant society. Now we'll touch on some of them. It's quite a lengthy document. Some books in hadith have actually, in history, have actually tried to collect and the entire document, and we're not going to go into the whole document, but there were certain important points that the Prophet ﷺ made in that particular document, this constitution, if you wish. Now we look at some of them and some of the lessons that they are there for us as well. One of the things that the Prophet ﷺ said, that the Muslims who arrived from Makkah, generally they were from Quraysh, and the ones who were resident from Medina, and anyone else who followed them, they will all be regarded as one single community. They'll all work together. They'll work together for the betterment of the community. That means the people of Medina. So that was the first thing he emphasized on in this constitution. Then he also meant, as the second thing he focused on was all these Muslims who were resident in Medina, regardless again, whether you were from Makkah, whether you're from Medina, different tribes, different backgrounds, etc. Each one of them will support one another. Right? They will support one another to what extent? They will support one another even if it means they have to free prisoners from an opposite tribe. Now, what does this mean? Remember, they were still new in Medina. The Muslim community was still developing. Prior to arriving in Medina, the Muslims were in Makkah, they made hijrah. Those who delayed in making hijrah or whatever reason may have had family members who were captured by the Quraysh. Those who arrived in Medina, some of the residents of Medina who had accepted Islam, the Ansar, some of them also may have been imprisoned, may have been captured by non Muslims. Whatever the case may be, as long as you are Muslim, every Muslim's duty is to support a fellow Muslim to free prisoners, to free a Muslim prisoner. On the topic of prisoners, we know what's the situation in Palestine, the move to try and kill all prisoners, etc. And much of the world is not doing anything. And teaches us an important lesson. This was a developing community. The Prophet ﷺ had just arrived in Medina, and he had already put in place certain rules to preserve and protect the life of the prisoners, and all the Muslim community needs to support one another to pay ransom to free a prisoner. And what do we do today when we, like a quarter of the world's population, we just sit back and we can't seem to do anything, and people will be getting killed and etc. So these are important things for all of us as well. The third thing he says, the Muslims will not abandon someone who is overcome with debt. He's overcome with debt. Remember, they left Makkah, some of them, some are in Medina, were all not wealthy. They overcome with debt. If you have the means as a community, we need to support one another and help him relieve his debt. That's a lesson for us today also, in our day to day life as well. Uh, a member in our community who makes salah in our masjid or whatever in our area may be overcome with debt. If we are in the means, not individually, as a community, have the means to assist the person, then we should do so. That's on a local level. And on international level, there are people who have some major debt. The people in Sudan, people, when I say debt, they're struggling, their conditions are far worse than just owing someone money. They don't have food. They haven't had anything to eat for decent meal for months. Some reports are saying some people in Sudan haven't had decent. Children are eating sand. They're putting sand in their mouths and just to keep, like, psychologically make them believe that we're eating something. I've seen pictures where a child is actually spitting out sand, right? And the ummah is well, and again, the majority of those people or many of those people are Muslim. But even if they are non-Muslim, the deen teaches us about humanity. That's one of the main things, and we learn about it even in this document that the Prophet ﷺ wrote. Man ahyaha faka'annama ahya an-nasa jami'a. The Quran says, whoever gives life to, preserves a single life, faka'annama ahya an-nasa jami'a, as if you have given life to all of mankind. It doesn't say all of you Muslims, it's all of mankind. So, Muslims, by nature, we are supposed to be preserving life, particular about humanity in general. And that's something very, very important. Many times we take it for granted, oh no, this is not Muslim, so we don't have to worry about it. No, life is life. Life is very important that we make every effort to preserve life. And later on will come when we deal with the section and the topic on jihad and all that's a different topic. But generally, we're supposed to be people who preserve life. The other thing that the Prophet ﷺ said, that all residents of Medina will stand together in dealing with anybody who acts in a hostile manner against the people of Medina. So if somebody tries to attack the people of Medina, everyone in Medina will stand together, even if you are non-Muslim. Because you're a resident of Medina, you are enjoying the benefits of the city. We as Muslims, the Prophet will protect everyone. So if someone from outside attacks, you need to defend as well. And if you're not prepared to defend, don't support the enemy. You can stay neutral in that case, but don't support the enemy. Then we will have to fight you as well. Alright? So these were some of the things that the Prophet ﷺ, but those we'll speak about in a little later. Then he mentioned, لا يقتل مؤمن مؤمنا في كافر. A Muslim, a mu'min, will not kill another Muslim because of a kafir. A Muslim will not kill another Muslim because of a kafir. In other words, a Muslim and a kafir may have had a deal, or some agreement, or whatever it may be, and maybe one of them, it went sour, it didn't work out. Now the Muslim, there's a fight that ensues, and there's trouble. A Muslim would not go and kill a fellow Muslim because of that kafir, because of the injury. No, you don't take the blood of a Muslim because of a kafir. That was the rule that the Prophet. Now, Quran speaks about these things in a little more detail, but this is very important again today. When we look at the current situation in the world, Muslims' lives are very cheap, and sometimes Muslims are killing other Muslims because of outside influences, others telling them Muslims what to do, telling Muslim governments, Muslim countries what to do. So they end up killing fellow Muslims. And that's a sad thing. Then the Prophet ﷺ, one of the things he mentioned was Dhimmatullahi wahida, the responsibility or the honor and the dignity of all of the residents, all the Muslims is one. I mean, it's equal. Not one person is a greater right to security than the others, or one has a greater right to be protected than the others. Every believer, everyone in front of Allah is equal. Everyone in front of Allah is equal, so they enjoy the same degree of dignity and respect and protection, etc. This is also very important. Then he mentioned anyone, okay, he spoke about a certain group amongst the Yahud. The Yahud were made up of various tribes, and there were many of them that were living in Medina. Tribes of before the Muslims arrived, they were living in Medina, and there's a history about that. That the Jews had actually arrived in Medina many years ago, long, some say hundreds of years ago, in the hope because they had read in their Torah the description of the last prophet, and the land that he will come will be a land of a lot of dates. So many of them had already arrived in Medina when it was called Yathrib hundreds of years ago, settling there, awaiting the coming of the last prophet. And then when we go deeper and you find out when eventually they realize that the last prophet is actually Arab and not from Banu Israel, that's what upset them. Anyway, that's not our topic, but the different groups amongst the Yahud that lived in Medina, there was one of them known as Bani Auf, right? They sort of formed an alliance with the Muslims. And they said, look, we're not going to harm you, you don't harm us, we live together as residents of Medina, and that's it. So the Prophet ﷺ said, fine, it's fine. You keep your deen as Muslims, and we as Jews will keep our deen. We'll follow our religion, and you follow yours. But we're all residents of the city. We will not harm one another. We live peacefully. And the Prophet ﷺ accepted this. The Yahud have their own, the Jews had their own expenses. They had to maintain their own affairs, pay for their own things, and the Muslims paid for their things, whatever it was. And later we'll come across a situation where there was a shortage or there was a need for water, where the Muslims actually, Uthman radiallahu anhu, purchased the well and made the water available to everybody. We'll come across that in a lesson or two time, inshallah. So, and whoever left Medina is considered safe. Whoever stays in the city will is also safe. Meaning, as long as you're a resident of Medina, if you go out for business or something, we will ensure that you are protected. If you remain in the city, for whatever reason you don't want to go out, then too we'll ensure that you are protected. So these are some of the important things that the Prophet ﷺ focused on in this particular constitution. And these things were very important at the time. Because remember, the Jews were already uh, they were not very confident, they were not very convinced that he is the final prophet because he was Arab. Then you had a group of Ansar who had accepted Islam. You had those who came from Makkah who also were fairly new in inverted commas in Islam. They left behind their homes, they left behind their businesses, their families. So they arrived in Medina as strangers. The Prophet ﷺ put all of this down. This made a great impact on keeping the society together, keeping people together, and further building the ummah, further building the community. All of these principles, along with the ones we mentioned, the masjid and the brotherhood, all help strengthen that bond in the community. That is why we learn the next lesson when the Battle of Badr took place the year later, the second year of the Hijrah. Everyone stood up. Those who weren't ready to go out to Badr and fight were still ready to defend from within the city. People were ready to die within a year of arrival in Medina. People were ready to stand up and give their life because that bond was already strong. That bond of Iman and the brotherhood was already very strong. Now, if we look closely at some many ulama have written extensively already on analyzing all the points in that particular treaty or that constitution. We're not going to go into all of that detail. Um, one or two important points that we can draw from there, that the Prophet ﷺ made it clear in this constitution that the central and most important point in this community in Medina was Islam. Islam was the binding factor. Everyone was united on Islam. That was it. He didn't care. You came from this tribe, you came from the Quraysh, which was the most honorable tribe, you were the resident of Medina, you were from so and so ethnic background. Because remember, the Arabs still today have that. This tribal kind of, rivalry as such, if you wish. But that didn't matter. The Prophet ﷺ made sure only thing that matters was Islam. The fact that you are Muslim brings everyone together. And you see that how he paired them as well. He paired someone from Makkah with someone from Medina. They don't know one another, they're not related in any way. He paired them up. So he emphasized this particular point, the fact that we are all Muslim. And like I said, relevant for us today as well. People will think, oh, but what do I have to do with the people of Sudan? What do I have to do with the people of Kashmir? Or what do I have to do with the people of Gaza? I mean, as an ummah, we all want. As an ummah, we want. It's your, think about it, it's your brother, your sister, whoever is starving, dying, getting killed. It, certain members of the ummah, I mean, Salah ad-Din al-Ayyubi, rahimahullah, the one who liberated Masjid al-Aqsa, 90 some odd years after Masjid al-Aqsa was under the Crusaders, and Salah ad-Din al-Ayyubi was seen crying and, always sad. So someone asked him, you haven't, we haven't ever seen you smile. We haven't seen you, even enjoy yourself. He says, how could I smile and enjoy myself in Masjid al-Aqsa is under the Crusaders? And if you think about that and think about us, we just, oh, shame, Masjid al-Aqsa is closed. And then life goes on. That kind of, compare ourselves. If we want to have a liberation of Masjid al-Aqsa the way Salah ad-Din al-Ayyubi did it, then we have to have the qualities of Salah ad-Din al-Ayyubi as well. Have that attachment to the masjid, have the feeling for the masjid and for the people in the area the way they had it. And that brings me to a statement made by Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, also related to Masjid al-Aqsa. Umar radiallahu anhu, during his time, the Muslims had conquered Masjid al-Aqsa during the second Khalifa, Umar ibn al-Khattab. And when he arrived, I think I spoke about this before, but I'm just going to focus on the statement he mentioned on that occasion when the Muslims conquered Masjid al-Aqsa. And that statement we need to keep on reminding ourselves about. He says, نحن قوم أعزنا الله بالإسلام ولو ابتغينا العزة في غيره لأذلنا الله. And it's related to what Rasulullah ﷺ emphasized here. He says, we're a nation who Allah has honored us with Islam. And if we look for honor in anything else, Allah will disgrace us. And exactly what's happening today. We're a nation, we didn't honor Islam. Allah honored us by giving us Islam. And that's the mistake we think I'm doing a favor by making salah, for example, or giving my zakat, or giving my charity. Allah had honored us by making us Muslim. Allah has honored us by letting us give sadaqah, by give zakat, by making salah. That's Allah's favor upon us. And if we look for honor in anything else, then Allah will disgrace us. That's what Umar radiallahu anhu said. And like I said, that statement is a powerful statement. And he said it at the time when the Muslims, Sahaba, conquered Masjid al-Aqsa. Because some Sahaba rode out to meet him and said, it's a great day, we're receiving the keys to the city of Al-Quds. At least dress presentably. He came with his old mule. He said, we'll bring you a nice horse. You come presentable. They're looking to give the keys to the city to the Muslim leader. And that's when he said this. He said, I got Allah honored us with Islam. Why do I need to, honor from whom? Right? Who do I need to be honored? Allah has granted me the honor. So that's important when we speak about this. And in the other points, the Prophet ﷺ spoke about maintaining the unity of the Muslim community, the Muslim society in Medina, back then and today. So in our small areas where we live, try and keep everybody together. I mean, in the sense that sometimes small little petty differences and people don't talk to one another for days and weeks and in families, those kind of things, we need to overcome that. Sometimes you meet family members, I don't speak to so and so for weeks or months or years at times. For what? Sometimes it's inheritance, sometimes it's this person I didn't get invited to their wedding or this and that. And for what? The ummah needs to be together. How are we going to unite the ummah? We can't unite our families. We can't unite between brothers and sisters, etc. And we're going to unite the ummah. And we're fighting over, I didn't get invited to someone's function. So that's important. The Prophet showed us that this was very, very important. Then he spoke about I mentioned this already, the equality amongst Muslims. Everyone's the same. Everyone, as long as you're Muslim, you're the same. And he honored and respected everyone's word. The word of a Muslim was his honor. So why am I mentioning this? Um, there's a principle in Islam which says that if you given your word to someone, yeah, I promise you something, whether it's Muslim or non-Muslim. If I give you my word, I must fulfill it. Now, at the time there were some people who were speaking, we don't have to honor our word when it's a non-Muslim. You can, you can turn your back on the person, you can cheat the person, you can whatever. At the time, it is a hadith mentioned in Sahih Bukhari and Muslim. And this happened much later, at the time when the Prophet ﷺ conquered Makkah. At the conquest of Makkah, he was in the power of authority, a position of authority. He took over Makkah. The entire Quraysh were at his mercy, bowing their heads in front of him at his mercy. He even said to them, "What do you think I'm going to do to you?" He said, we at your mercy today. You can, at a stroke of a hand, our heads could be rolling. At that occasion, Hani was the cousin of the Prophet ﷺ, a lady. She was the daughter of, what's her name? Abu Talib. Abu Talib, the Prophet ﷺ's uncle. His daughter, Hani. She came to the Prophet ﷺ on the day of the conquest of Makkah, and she said to the Prophet ﷺ, my brother, who was Ali ibn Abi Talib, Ali radiallahu anhu, Ali radiallahu anhu wants to kill one of the kuffar who I have granted him, I've given him my word that I will protect him. I've given him sanctity or safety, and then he can stay with me. He won't be harmed at the conquest of Makkah, because the Prophet ﷺ announced, anyone who takes, grants protection to someone, you will be, will respect that. So Ali radiallahu anhu wanted to kill a certain kafir. Hani, his sister, had already promised a certain non-Muslim that I will protect you. If you come stay at my place, you'll be protected. So Ali said, no, that doesn't count. That doesn't count. That man's a kafir. Right? And we've conquered Makkah. So Hani, his sister, came to the Prophet ﷺ and said, my brother wants to kill so and so, but I had already given him my word. The Prophet said, we will respect your word. That man who you have given protection to will be protected. Hani had promised a kafir protection. The Prophet ﷺ respected her word and honored her word. And here we learned another thing, that the Prophet ﷺ showed us that he even honored the word even of a female. He didn't say, oh, you're a lady, okay, it doesn't mean anything. No, he's respected in front of Ali radiallahu anhu. He said, no, she promised him security and safety, we respect that. And he will be guaranteed his safety and etc. So that's a very important thing that we learn from here as well. That's what this treaty taught us as well. Then we learn about, okay, the principle of justice, etc. We're not going to go too much in detail there. So that basically covers the treaty. The next phase in the da'wah, remember the da'wah of Islam, the spreading of Islam went through various phases. The first phase was actually the silent da'wah in Makkah, where it was done secretly. The second phase, when Allah allowed the Prophet to stand up and openly, call people to Islam. The third phase was the Hijrah, Abyssinia or Ethiopia, and then to Medina. The fourth phase was now they arriving in Medina, establishing a society. And the phase thereafter was now, can you fight back? The permission where they were allowed to fight, physically fight. The jihad, but the defensive one initially, and then it became offensive. So the next lessons will focus on that. The next phase in the Dawah of Islam, where now they start fighting back and they start picking up arms, and we speak about Badr and or the battle that took place before Badr, and then the actual battle of Badr, and we go on there because in the 10 years in Medina, we find a lot of this happening, Badr and Uhud and Khandaq and Hunayn, all these battles, and we'll speak about that in the coming lessons. So I just want to speak a little on some of the shama'il, the physical characteristics of the Prophet ﷺ. Last week we spoke about his speech, and we spoke at length about his speech. And continuing from there, one of the things that the Prophet ﷺ, we said he spoke with short, concise words. He spoke very eloquent, very pleasant in his speech, etc. Never vulgar, very never rude, anything. But another thing that we learned from him too, he also appreciated someone who spoke well. We find him in certain hadith actually praising someone who spoke well. So he valued and he appreciated people who spoke well. He acknowledged so and so. He said, "This person speaks well." He uses the word Jamal in which is beauty to refer to that person's speech. He says, "Mal Jamal qala al lisan." Someone asked him, "What's you referring to Jamal?" He said, "The tongue." The man, the way he speaks. So people to being vulgar, the Prophet ﷺ condemned someone who's vulgar, someone who's rude, someone who's got a foul mouth, etc. He didn't like that at all. He disliked that kind of speech at all. And he condemned that. Now, we spoke at length about his short, concise words, which had profound and very deep meanings. So maybe for 2 or 3 weeks at the end, we'll just select a few hadith, short, which are very concise, and to show us now that these were the words of the Prophet ﷺ, which were very short but very deep in meaning. Some of them people have written like 100 pages on just explaining a short hadith. There's one hadith where it's not here at the moment, but it comes to mind. Uh, there was a young Sahabi, a young boy. He must have been 10 years old or maybe less or more. And he had a pet bird, a small little bird. In Arabic, it's called Nughair. I forgot the English word. But he used to play with this bird. And the Prophet ﷺ walked by and saw him playing with his pet bird. And he came after some time and he saw the boy quite sad. And someone said to the Prophet ﷺ, or the Prophet asked him what happened, and they said to him, the boy's bird had died. So the Prophet ﷺ walked by and said, Ya Aba Umair. The boy was known as Abu Umair. He said, Ya Aba Umair, ma fa'ala Nughair. Oh, literally, oh Abu Umair, what happened to Nughair? That's all the Prophet said. Imam al-Shafi said he could extract something like 100 lessons from that statement. Ya Aba Umair, ma fa'ala Nughair. Oh Abu Umair, what happened to Nughair? Now, me and you must sit here the whole night and try and figure out what can you get 100 lessons from here, or even 10 lessons from there. That's how deep it is. Some of the scholars have extracted 50 and 60 lessons from that statement. Oh Abu Umair, what happened to Nughair? Now, Nughair is a bird. What happened to Nughair? Where are you going to get 50 lessons from there? But that's it. When they sit and reflect and ponder about it, it's amazing that how deep the words of the Prophet ﷺ are. So we'll just select a few to show us that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had blessed Rasulullah ﷺ with this wahi, this spoken word, and the meaning was came from Allah. Hence, the short words had deep and profound meanings. The one is Ibn Abbas, the hadith, famous hadith of Abdullah ibn Abbas. Abdullah ibn Abbas was young, also he must have been 10, 12 years old. He was sitting behind the Prophet ﷺ, riding on the same horse or camel. He was riding behind the Prophet. He's the Prophet ﷺ's cousin. And he's sitting at the back of the Prophet ﷺ. Now, again, very important. Sometimes when it comes to children, many of us say, no, he's only a child, leave him, he'll learn later. The Prophet ﷺ didn't this is not how he approached matters. He's got a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old behind him on his horse or his camel. And he says, Ya ghulam inni u'allimuka kalimat. Abdullah ibn Abbas says, I'm behind him. And the Prophet says, oh young boy, I'm going to teach you something now. Right? I'm going to teach you some words. Now, the words he's teaching a young boy are words that even adults today we need. We all need it. Right? So he's teaching a young boy this. He says, Ihfadillah yahfadk. Protect Allah and Allah will protect you. How do you protect Allah? Protect the laws of Allah, protect the commands of Allah, protect your belief regarding Allah. But protect Allah and Allah will protect you. He's saying this to a 10, 12-year-old boy. He says, Ihfadillah tajhidu tujahak. Protect Allah, you'll find Him in front of you. In other words, if you protect the commands of Allah, you'll find Allah ready to answer you every time, look after you at every instance. Then he says to him, إِذَا سَأَلْتَ فَاسْأَلِ اللَّهِ. Whenever you ask Allah alone. Dua, the etiquette of dua. If you ask Allah alone. وَإِذَا اسْتَعَنْتَ فَاسْتَعِنْ بِاللَّهِ. And if you seek assistance from anyone, seek from Allah alone. He's teaching this to a 12-year-old, 10-year-old, right? And like I said, it's for us as well, right? وَعْلَمْ, and yet relevant to our current situation that the ummah faces again. He says, know this much, know that the ummah, the entire ummah, لو اجتمعت, if they all gather, أن ينفعوك بشيء, to benefit you in any way, لم ينفعوك إلا بشيء كتبه الله لك. They will never benefit you except to the extent that Allah is written out. And ولو اجتمعت على أن يضروك بشيء, and if they all gather to harm you in any way, they will never be able to harm you except to the extent that Allah is written out. Then he said, رفعت الأقلام وجفت الصحف. The pens have been lifted, meaning whatever Allah commands angels to write down, your taqdeer, the pens have been lifted. وجفت الصحف. The ink is dried. In other words, it's written out. Allah has written it out. What's going to happen is going to happen. Whatever is Allah's decree is going to happen. Nobody can change what Allah has written out. But this is an important lesson for us. If the entire ummah wishes to benefit you and Allah does not intend to do so, nothing can happen. But if the entire ummah wishes to harm you, Allah does not want you to be harmed, nothing can happen. Think about Al-Aqsa, think about Gaza, think about Sudan, think about Kashmir, think about Yemen, think about anywhere in the world. Think about South Africa, think about anything. And keep this hadith in the back. From the beginning, protect Allah, Allah will protect you. Seek help from Allah. If you want to ask anyone, ask from Allah. And all of us, that Allah is the one that we need to focus on, and establish our connection with Allah. Now, these are short statements made by the Prophet ﷺ, but very deep in meaning. And I said, he's saying this to a young boy. Now, today, will we think about saying such things to a 10-year-old or 12-year-old? We say, no, he's too young, he won't understand. He won't understand at the moment. Let him grow up. And when he grow up, no, now he's not interested. So he never gets a chance. He's gone. Now they're too big. Now they don't want to listen to us now. So fine. So when he was too young, he was about 10 years old. He's too young to listen. When he's 16 or 18, no, these teenagers don't want to listen anymore. Time's gone. Never a chance to teach anyone. So he used the opportunity. He used the opportunity at every time. And another lovely hadith where there was a young Sahabi, young boy. He must have been less than 10. He must have been 4 years old or something. You're sitting on the table, and we'll end of this. And they were sitting and eating, Sahaba and the Prophet ﷺ. And this young boy, being young, his hand was flying all about, grabbing food from here, grabbing food from there, and just taking from everywhere. Etiquette of eating. And we'll react in one or two ways. Either give the guy a hiding, how can you be so rude on the table? Or leave him, he's still small. He's still small, he'll learn later on, he'll grow up. The Prophet ﷺ called him. He said, Ya Ghulam. And he had him, some reports say he probably had him on his lap. He said, oh young boy, Sammillah, say Bismillah. Kul biyaminik, eat with your right hand. Wa kul mimma yalik, and eat that which is closest to you. Eat the food that's closest to you. Important etiquette of eating. But the Prophet didn't say, he's still young, we'll teach him later on. Or leave him, he'll grow up and then he'll learn. He called him in a nice manner. He told me, Ya Ghulam, oh boy, oh young boy, Sammillah, say Bismillah. Eat with your right hand, kul biyaminik, and eat with that which is closest to you. That's all. No long story he gave him. Three pieces of advice, but he taught him immediately. He taught him immediately. He didn't say, oh, leave him now, it's all right, let him do what he wants. No, but in a nice manner. He didn't scold him, he didn't shout him, but he addressed it nicely. So that's something that we also need to learn. Three, again, from the words of the Prophet ﷺ, concise, short, simple, and done. But three lessons, three etiquettes of eating, which will stay. You tell someone, say Bismillah, eat with your right hand, eat which is closest to you. Done. And like that, we'll do a few more at the end of every lesson, just to get a taste of. Remember, there's a hadith which the Prophet ﷺ himself said, although some ulama have ruled that the hadith may be, in terms of principles of hadith, may be weak, but We're not using it to justify any ruling, but to show virtue. And the ulama are unanimous that if you use a weak hadith to prove that something is virtuous, it's permissible. So the Prophet said, whoever memorizes 40 hadith, then I will be Shafi, I will intercede for you on the day of Qiyamah. So 40 short hadith, if people learn innamal a'malu bin niyat, that's one. This one I mentioned, kul bi yaminik, kul bi malik, samillah, say bismillah, eat with your right hand, that's 3 hadith done. So you learn 40, and the Prophet ﷺ, inshallah, will be intercede for us on the day of Qiyamah. So like this, we'll select 40 short ones at the end of every lesson, just to get a taste of the words of the Prophet ﷺ. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us all tawfiq. Subhanallah wa hamdi, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdi, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta.